Love, it has been good to me this time around. Things were they were bound to change when it was found. Sugar never tasted sweeter on my lips. My heart is now intact and I can find
Hello and welcome to this week's fabulous episode of X-Rad Live, the talk show that really does get you talking on the Xander Network, live from your mother's basement. Yes, I'm talking to you. I'm in your mother's basement. I'm Xander Gibb, and I am wanting to go now and drink half a bottle of scotch. But on today's show, I give you the chance to get on your soapbox in our phone in at the beginning of the show, 845-363-4747. That's 845-363-4747. I'll share that in the live feed in a moment. Our guest today, Swoop from Swoop World, joins us, and the fabulous Dr. Kendra Becker drops by. I can't wait to talk to her about health, darling. And don't forget, I will be joining Joe Messina on the real side at 6 Pacific, 6 Pacific, I'll get there. 6 Pacific, 7 Central. No, 6 Pacific, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Don't forget, you can have your say below in the live feed. And as usual, I'll be sharing your comments as we go. And you'll be able to call in very soon when we've done the hellos and welcomes on our number 845-363-4747. That's 845-363-4747. That's if you're in the United States. And if you are in the United Kingdom, you can call us on Facebook Messenger. You can follow me on social media everywhere but Twitter, because my honesty scares them. Oh, yes. Cherie. So let's just get the number and copy it so we can share it. It should be in the message area for the show. Can I ask you all, if you're in the live feed now, please share the show so we can get some more people to actually come along and join us and be involved. I'm sharing the number again now. It doesn't seem to be there. Let's see if I can edit the video live and add it. So if I suddenly disappear or turn into Nancy Pelosi, you will know why. Yes, wouldn't let me do it. It was making me turn into Nancy Pelosi. Okay, let's say hello to everybody in the live feed. Hi to Dan. I hope you're doing good. Hello to Justin. Welcome. Hi to Chad. Hello to everyone that's listening, watching, etc., etc. And you're not in the live feed. Come join us. Come share. Please share the link. So people know where we are. Let me click that share button again. And we're going to take your calls now. Now, what we thought we would do this week is, I usually get on my soapbox and talk about what's pissed me off. Yes, I'm going to say it this week. And there's been a lot, and mostly it's been the actions of the Democrats. But I'm interested out there, what has gotten on your goat? What has made you angry this week? Call us, 845-363-4747. That's 845-363-4747. Call us now. The lines are open. Chad's saying he can't share. Where is the share button? I see a share button. You actually have to, you actually have to right click and go to a separate page to watch it. I don't know what's going on with Facebook lately. I think half of it is in order to make sure that you pay. They actually sent me an email today and said, would I like to pay some money to advertise with them? No, I don't want to give you, I can't think of polite terminology for what I want to say, but I'm sure you know, and it involves steam. But I don't want to give them anything because really they don't kind of deserve anything. Hello to Swoop, who is our first guest, and will be joining us in just a little while when we've taken some calls. Let me give you that number once more, 845-363-4747. We're giving you the chance to get on your soapbox and say what has really bothered you this week. What has pissed you off? We're going to talk about the wall with Swoop, so I don't want to kind of go into it very much. But it was heartening today to see that, what's his name? The idiot reporter that got banned. Oh, gosh, what is his name? I've got name block because, assholes' names just kind of, spill from my brain. There was a video of him at the border wall, and he was saying basically that the wall wasn't needed, and where he was at, there was a section of border wall, and basically what he was saying is that it wasn't needed. And, no one person tried to get over that section while he was there, so that alone was proof. Acosta, thank you very much, Justin. Jim A. Asshole Acosta. And that really, spoke volumes to, the president. He shared this today and said, quite clearly, the reason why nobody was, going over the wall while he was there is not just because Jim Acosta was there, but because the wall was there. We know walls work. And, it's imperative that we, as Americans, get on our high horse right now. Why do Democrats actually want to block this wall? Because all it's doing is bringing in drugs. It's increasing human trafficking, and it's also bringing in illegals. And let's face it, illegals can vote in California or in other states. And I'm guessing that that's why they want them in. Now, I've got a theory. I think part of it is because Nancy Pelosi gets her pills on the cheap from Mexico. Shaky Nancy. And if she can't get them cheap from Mexico, what's she going to do? She's going to have to get them from Canada, from her husband's boyfriend, Justin, who is the Prime Minister of Canada over there. So let me give you the number once again. I keep wanting to say 3. This is the old number I'm giving you. 845-363-4747. That's 845. We have a caller. We always have to give it a second because it takes a little while to work in. Hello, you're live on X-Rad Live. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Xander, it's Chet over in Long Island.
Hi, Chet. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm good. Listen, before you get started, I was just wondering if you saw the wonderful Ana Navarro on CNN when she was actually having a spirited debate with all the deaths that happen to American citizens by illegal aliens, and she had the gall to start filing her fingernails as she was talking about
Seriously.
This, which just showed total arrogance and disregard for American citizens that are here, whether you're for the wall or not. That's blatant disregard for American lives. And I'd like to tell Miss Navarro, if she was listening, that just this week, actually a few days ago, in Huntington on Long Island, we just had a few teenagers that were attacked at a Burger King. One was stabbed to death, and
Wow.
the other was put in critical condition, and it was done by MS-13 gang members, all ranging from the age of 20 all the way down to the age of 17, that came through the southern border illegally.
You see,
And that's...
go ahead.
This is a reoccurring problem out here in Long Island. This happens all the time. Of course, it was covered briefly on the news. You were able to see it locally out here on Channel 12, Long Island. I know Justin in the feed right now on your Facebook page knows all about this stuff. That greatly happens in the Nassau County area, but they're being escorted through the border, and then they ship them off to Long Island, and innocent children in the Brentwood area, the Huntington area, are dying
Right.
because we have gangsters from coming across from the southern border that are being put throughout our districts.
Absolutely, and I'm actually sick to death of Democrats saying, it's only a few people who have died because of this, and the numbers are exponential and rising all of the time. But let me tell you something, and I said this about 9/11. Even one dead American because of these things is one too many. And if the Democrats can turn a blind eye to Americans being killed by illegals, then why does this not speak to the voters? You have to be either anti-American or very stupid to ignore this, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean, bringing up 9/11, you're talking about some individuals that had overstayed visas that ended up carrying out the worst tragedy on American soil that could have ever been carried out. And it's amazing from that day on in that this country doesn't have a wall and hasn't really learned from that incident. 3,000 people that died because of some scumbags that learned how to fly but didn't learn how to land with overstayed visas.
Absolutely.
And we're having this debate today.
And regardless of how people want to put a spin on it, those people that did that were illegal. Because if you've overstayed your visa, you're illegal. Now the thing is, to me, and I'm going to talk about this again with Swoop when Swoop comes on, but I wholeheartedly support Donald Trump in shutting down the government and ensuring that they are backed into a corner. You see, no one pissed and whined when Barack Obama did this. Barack Obama closed down the government several times to get his way. So what's good for the goose is good for the Donald, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, absolutely. Well, it's the optics coming from the left just to make anything that President Trump does look bad. But the bottom line is we need more border control. We don't, aside from having the wall, our border control agents and our ICE agents, they're overwhelmed. They're getting shot at.
Yeah.
You heard all the folks that he had from these agencies up there speaking, and they said themselves that they're overwhelmed. So we need to southern border. It's all this violence that's occurring over here on Long Island. This is occurring mostly in the Hispanic community, legal Hispanic community, and it's children that are getting their heads cut off, found in the woods, and it's being done by these scumbags that come in here in these gangs that are illegals, and it's the Democrats and Democrat lawmakers that are putting them in our communities, and they should be ashamed of themselves, and they should be put away as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. I think, I hate to say this, I think that if we can't get this wall built and sorted out very soon, that there is going to be an uprising in the United States because the blood is getting spilled, and it's getting spilled by illegals. And no matter how the left tries to paint it any differently, this is the truth. This is the reality of what is going on. And we're not going to stand by any longer and let Americans get killed because the left does not want to spend the damn money. They've just paid for a wall in Turkey that cost a hell of a lot more. So if walls don't work, why are you paying for them in Turkey? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And, they do work. And we've heard from the Border Patrol agents over there that along the southern border, it works. Where the walls are, they're not having these issues. Where they're not, they are. They're being shot at. Right. And we need to put an end to it. There's gang violence in America. There always has been. But it's being exasperated by the fact that we're bringing in outside gangsters that want nothing more to spread violence in the United States of America and kill American citizens, and that's unacceptable.
That's a great point, Chet. Because this is contrived, and I am actually convinced that there is Soros money involved bringing these illegals in. Who pays for that? Who's paying for those caravans? You can't. If you're saying you're a poor migrant and that you are a refugee, I'm here to tell you that those people are not poor refugees. They are economic migrants with $1,000 iPhones. I can't even afford the best iPhone. So if they're coming in and pleading poverty, it really concerns. Yes, Joe, I was waving back at you, dude. It really does concern me. But it is a simple choice of, are you stupid, or are you willfully ignoring the fact that the Democrats are condoning this kind of behavior? It is that simplistic as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I always love the point, Xander, that a liberal makes that we're America, we're better than that, we can help everyone. Well, we can't help everyone. We can't even help our homeless veterans that are living in tent cities throughout New York and San Francisco, and you name it, they're all over the place. We can't even help them. So how are we helping out everybody else? We have our own problems, and when we finish all that and fix all that, which we never will anyway, then we can start worrying about everybody else. But for now, we better clean up our own side of the street.
Absolutely, and I say this all of the time, but my grandmother used to say a very poignant phrase, and we'll have to end here because I need to bring the guest on, and that was that charity begins at home. If we have in America, if we have people that are homeless and need assistance, and we're giving assistance to other countries before we do that, what does that say about America as a nation? Listen, Chet, thank you so much for calling in. It's been great to talk to you. I know you're coming back to join us as a guest very soon, so I look forward to that and really getting down to the nitty-gritty.
Thanks a lot, Xander.
Thanks a lot, Chet. Take care. Don't forget to check out on Sunday Freedom on Deck with Chet and CV and Brian. And I think it's 3 till 5 Eastern time. Hello to everyone that's joining in the live feed. Hi to Joe. Don't forget, I'll be on his show later, right after the show, so do stick around. Hey to Julio. Hello, my bro. Hello to CV. Welcome to the show. I'm going to start to do the introduction for my next guest because he's going to call in any second. And he is Swoop from Swoop's World, and he's going to be joining me to break down this week's hottest topics live from California. Oh yes, Cerisa. I will slum it a little bit in the chat room, as it were, until that comes along. I get a lot of emails from people saying how much of a hater I am because I support Donald Trump. If loving my country means that you label me as a hater, then so be it. Because I think that my first guest, the one, the only, the fabulous Mr. Swoop from Swoop's World, who needs to turn his volume. I guess that wasn't Mr. Swoop from Swoop's World. If that was you, Swoop, please call back. His sound in the background, it's so easily done, and I've done it myself. Is that you, Swoop?
Yes, how you doing, Xander?
Welcome to the show, brother. Happy New Year to you. And how is the world with you? It seems like an eternity since we last spoke.
It has been a lot of changes, but things are good.
Absolutely. And how is your beautiful bride?
She's doing well.
Good.
She's kicking back watching TV right now.
What, you mean she's not tuning into the show? How dare she? Do give her.
She listens to me enough.
Do give her our best and tell her she better tune in next time or else.
Absolutely.
So I want to jump right in because we're always time bound on the show. So President Trump said yesterday that he would almost definitely declare a national emergency to build a wall on the southern border, which would allow him to bypass Congress if we don't make a deal. I would say it would be very surprising to me that I would not declare a national emergency and just fund it through the various mechanisms. He told reporters as he headed from the White House to Texas to visit the border. If I have an absolute right to declare a national emergency, he continued, I haven't done it yet. I may do it if this doesn't work out. Probably I will do it. I would almost say definitely. The only way you have to a strong border is if you have a wall or a steel barrier, he added. Now the shutdown enters its 21st day and today, and after a White House meeting intended to break the impasse ended after 20 minutes when the president walked out, Chuck Schumer said Mr. Trump slammed his hands on the table and stormed out after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she wouldn't support a wall in exchange for opening up parts of the government. Now, the Donald said, that was a lie. I don't have temper tantrums. I very calmly walked out of the room. I didn't smash the table. I should have, but I did not smash the table. It's interesting how quickly America has forgotten about Barrio Blamo shutting down the government to get his own way. Critics have pointed out that the deal his administration has reached with Mexico and Canada, known as USMCA, to replace the shonky North American Free Trade Deal, NAFTA, sounds very NAF to me, has not been ratified by the Senate and does not include language that would require Mexico to pay up. Now, first of all, I want to ask you, Swoop, how do you feel about the shutdown? And should the president to declare a national emergency to build this?
I don't know the rules for declaring a national emergency, but the bottom line is we need to shore up our borders, and shoring up our borders, it's everybody protects themselves,
right?
And it has nothing to do with being anti-immigrant. We're talking about we want people to enter our country legally. We want to know who's coming in our country, and we want to know when they're coming in our country and how long they're supposed to stay in our country. So. We know that the border needs to be shored up. Even the Democrats have said it in the past. I mean, I've seen speeches from Barbara Jordan and a host of other people over the internet with them talking about immigration over the years. So it's nothing new. Whether he can declare a national emergency to get it done, I don't know. If he thinks that's the best route to go, I'm sure he'll do it because he pretty much tries to do what he says he's going to do all the time.
Right.
As far as the shutdown goes, the governmental shutdown, the only issue I have with that is the common man who's not getting paid. He needs to state his case so the people realize that it's the Congress and the Senate that needs to step up and participate and be a part of this. Because the only thing, and you're right, other presidents have done it, Obama's done it, but the talking points right now are the everyday average person who can't pay his bills because now that they miss their first paycheck today and stuff like that. So that's, it's kind of optics there.
Yeah, I totally see that point. But apparently, so many public employees have said that they've still been getting paid and still got paid today. But it's a very bold statement to say that America has not ground to a halt. Because the government has shut down. What does that say about these so-called essential services that are they're pissing and whining about and saying that they haven't been paid? That America hasn't drawn to a huge halt because they've stopped.
No, I think I read somewhere the other day, and I don't have it in front of me. But during these government shutdowns, I think it's 6% of the government. I think 6% of things that get shut down. Most essential services still remain. So yeah, you're right. It doesn't come to a stop. But there are some people that are affected. I get that.
Absolutely. And I want to talk a bit. I don't know whether you were listening to Chet called in, Chet Martin from Freedom on Deck, and we were talking about the cost of really the cost in human life terms of not building a wall. How many more Americans should be killed before something is done? And do you not think that it's disturbing that the left is playing down the fact that people are being killed because illegals are coming over the border?
Oh, it's absolutely disturbing. And when you have people say that the majority of people don't come here to commit crimes, that's true. But if you use what they talk about in other things, like you hear them say, if we ban smoking in certain areas, we could save one life from dying from secondhand smoke. If we have these laws in place, we could save one life from a drunk driver crashing into people. It's no different than that.
No.
We save one life because we didn't allow somebody to get in our country who doesn't belong here. It's well worth it.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And so, I know Nancy Pelosi listens to this show in between her courses of pills. So, Nancy, if you're listening, just pay for the damn wall and stop procrastinating, okay? Wouldn't you just love it if she called in, Xander, I don't want you talking about me like that. It's not fair. Okay, so I want to move to our next topic, which is slightly closer to home for me being in New York. Less than a day after being sworn in as the youngest a woman ever elected to Congress, Representative Alexandria Ocasio, clearly no neocortex, Democrat, New York pushes an overly ambitious plan to combat climate change. Oh, that old chestnut, I hear you say. In an interview with Anderson Cooper for 60 Minutes, she suggests implementing a tax rate of up to 70% on wealthy Americans to pay for the new Green Deal, a new initiative to move towards zero carbon emissions. People are going to have to start to pay their fair share in taxes, the 29-year-old nitwit said. You look at our tax rates. Back in the 1960s, and when you have a progressive talk rate, your system tax rated, let's say from 0 to 75. I'm zoning out already, even just reading it. Maybe 10% or 15%, etc. But once you get to this is my favorite, the tippy tops. The tippy tops. Don't you want to slap this woman on your $10 million? Sometimes you see tax rates as high as 60 and 70%. That doesn't mean all $10 million dollar earners are taxed extremely high rate. Ocasio added, but it means that you climb up this ladder, you should be contributing more. I just want Ocasio to climb to the top of that ladder right now and, fall off just to stop her talking. Now, first of all, obviously I'm waxing lyrical and I am joking because I'm a comedian, so don't write in. If you do want to write in, you can write to Xander Gibb at idon'tgiveacrap.com. And you'll get the same level of response that you deserve. But 70%, should you be penalized for being a high earner? And should that money be used for green initiatives? I ask you, what do you say, Swoop?
Well, I always find it interesting when people tell people how they should be taxed and how much of their money should be taken away from them. The government will take your money. You can voluntarily pay as much as you want. If she wants to start giving up 70% of her income, more power to her.
Sure.
I don't want to. And I don't think any multi-millionaire wants to either.
No.
Realistically, the more you make, the more you make, the more you pay. That's just the way it works out. You can talk about tax breaks and whatnot anyway, but the more you make, the more you end up paying in taxes, and the majority of the taxes are paid by the highest earners in our country. So when you penalize people because they've achieved, two things are going to happen. One is they're either going to move to another country where they're not getting taxed so high, which I think a lot of European musicians become U.S. citizens because the tax rate was so high there.
Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne to name one. But the interesting thing is that that just suddenly occurred to me that the first people that this is going to affect is people like Nancy Pelosi and her husband, who are billionaires. So obviously, they're earning, they're in that kind of high tax bracket, and so are lots of other people who are career politicians who have overstayed their welcome and have made more money out of being a politician than they really should have done. So they're not going to be very happy with this suggestion, are they? Let's face it.
I don't think it bothers them, and I'll tell you why. Because one thing that very rarely gets talked about is a lot of these laws that are enacted by Congress, they make themselves immune from it. They don't have to participate in it. So I would be surprised if it affects them at all if they did something like that.
Yeah, they probably write something into the bill to ensure that they were covered. I mean, so many politicians actually bring bills into their states to ensure that their spouses pay less taxes, which is concerning, because why should you be able to be benefiting from being a politician? You know, the whole point, originally the whole point of becoming a politician was to better your country for a period of time, not line your pocketbook. And that seems to be what has been happening, in the last, 30 or 40 years. And I'm hoping that things are going to change. I mean, I think that term limits need to come into this, because essentially term limits would ensure that it happened how it was meant to happen, that you were a politician for a period of time, and then you went back to selling insurance or, dancing in strip clubs like Ocasio, Neo-Cortex, etc., etc., etc. So I'm all for term limits. But what really bothers me is that when really dumb politicians like this state these things without full research, and I feel sorry for the people of Queens. What the hell have you done? What have you elected? What have you foisted on the rest of the world? When you would elect dumb politicians, what happens as a byproduct of that is that you get the area that you represent a bad name. And right now, all of my friends who live in Queens, I am sorry for you.
What happens because
go ahead.
No, I think we're going to see what happens because she's going to be there for a few years apparently, and the thing about her is every time she opens her mouth, I think stand-up comedians are going to have a field day with her, because every time she opens her mouth, it's besides how scary it actually really is.
Right.
It's funny that she's just not on top of things. She's way in over her head, has no idea what she's talking about 90% of the time, and is coming up with all these ideas that really just destroy the country.
Right. Yeah, it's like 2 + 2 = 5 with new math. I mean, it is that stupid. It really is that stupid. But we have to just kind of wait and see exactly what happens. I want to look at this last one very quickly before we run out of time. Comedian Seth Meyers was accosted by thousands of social media users recently after he mocked victims who had been murdered by illegal immigrants in tweets. Meyers' tweet was made on the heels of President Trump's Oval Office address, during which he mentioned the brutal murder of Ronald Singh. America's heart broke the day after Christmas when a young police officer in California was savagely murdered in cold blood by an illegal alien who just came across the border. The life of an American hero was stolen by someone who had no right to be in our country. President Trump also reminded the public about the litany of other cases where Americans were killed by illegal aliens in California. An Air Force veteran was raped, murdered, and beaten to death with a hammer by an illegal alien with a long criminal history, he said. He has met with dozens of families whose loved ones were stolen by illegal immigration over the past several years, and asked citizens to try and understand the trauma and loss felt by families of victims. Is this Oval Office SVU? Late Night with Seth Meyers, host, tweeted after the president's speech. An angry response ensued, slamming the comedian for mocking murder victims and their families. I'm sure that's hysterical to the families of the murder victims. The president just discussed. Former NBC host, sorry, I have to spit before I say this, Megyn Kelly tweeted, you will have the great fortune of spending next Christmas with your wife and children and loved ones, the post read. Officer Singh and his loved ones will never enjoy that experience again. Some things are off limits, Seth. This is what Pelosi and the left are calling manufactured crisis. Now, what's your response to this? can comedians just say what they please? Are the left just minimizing this once more? A police officer is slain by an illegal. Oh, well, it's a manufactured. What do you make of it, Swoop?
Well, listen, this guy, obviously it's poor taste. A lot of, they don't want to admit that there are issues with illegal immigration. We have issues. We have crimes being committed. We have people who are repeat offenders who've been deported and come back across the border. My understanding of this guy, this was his second or third illegal entry into the country.
Right.
So, you can make light of that all you want, but it's a fact. It's true. It's not manufactured. This is what happens.
Absolutely.
Once again, it's not saying everybody who comes to our country is committing a crime, but we need to get a handle on this illegal immigration, and that's the bottom line. And when you have people that are committing crimes like this, you can make fun of that. It just goes to show you that you really don't understand the seriousness of what's going on here.
Totally.
You live in your bubble, and you think things like this are funny or manufactured, which means you're just out of touch.
Yeah. And I have to say, and I know, I'm not being flippant saying this, but anybody that comes here, comes to the United States illegally, is a criminal, because it's a criminal offense to come to America illegally. And I'm not saying that to be petty, but I think a lot of people forget that point. I want to say something very quickly, and I know you'll want to comment on this, about the fact that this kind of cheapens the life of police officers, and to give this level of response adds a level of vulnerability to them doing their job.
Our first responders, our military, our police officers, our firefighters, and whatnot, they do the job, and they're going to go back out there and do the job. And you know what? You could treat them like crap. You can call them racist or
right.
whatever you want to call them. They're still going to do the job. You know what? They might
Absolutely.
not do it with the same enthusiasm as they did before, because they have a family to feed, mouths to feed. But those are the only people in the world who go up there and do a job, get harassed, whatnot, and come back out there the next day and do it again.
For sure.
If you're working at the grocery store and somebody comes and pulls a gun on you and robs you 2-3 times, you quit the job. You don't come back. You're working, in other worlds, other professions. You don't come back. These people, they'll get shot at. They come back to work the next day. And
absolutely,
and
great point.
When things like this happen to them, and you make light of it, it cheapens them.
It absolutely does. We have to leave it there. I could speak to you all day, but tell people where they can find you, Swoop, and when they can listen to your show.
We're still on hiatus. We're going to be back there probably next month or two, but you can always find out what's happening at swoopsworld.com.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, Swoop. Make sure you go check out Swoop. Follow him on social media, and I hope he'll be joining us again very soon. Thanks a lot, Swoop, and give my love to your lovely wife.
Thanks a lot, Xander.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
That was Swoop from Swoop's World. Make sure you go and check him out. My next guest, will bring her on, and I will do her introduction. Dr. Kendra Becker is an integrated physician who's committed to helping families heal at home. She teaches healing from inside, so you begin a journey of health and resilience starting with your dinner plate. Food can be your medicine or your poison. Your genes do not define, but they help guide the way of your healing. In practice for over 10 years, Dr. Becker holds an ND degree, an MS, and an APRN. We'll have to find out what they are. Her specialist areas are far-ranging. She's passionate about healing the gut, and Dr. Becker educates families on the importance of choosing organic, non-GMO, nutrients-dense foods. Please join me in welcoming for the first time to X-Rad Live, Dr. Kendra Becker. Welcome to the show, Kendra. How is the world with you?
Very, very good. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you because your specialist field is really of interest to me in many ways. I'm a big guy and have had kind of overeating issues, etc., etc. And I, for the past 3 years, I've been trying to eat organically and eat properly. Because for me, obesity is kind of, all of those things are kind of linked together. And we actually found out this year finally, which was the last thing they actually tested me for, oddly, was that I'm diabetic. So that kind of changed things totally again. But I want to go back to the beginning of all of this, because for all of us, after Christmas, everybody's, overindulged. Everybody's kind of eating too much of the wrong things, which we all do. But one key thing that I get from some of the stuff that I've read of yours is that, dieting is kind of a dirty word, and it's more about lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely. And, I'll tell you my own Christmas story. This year was much better, but last year I keep my sugar intake really low. Like, I generally do not consume in my day more than 25 grams of sugar, and I'm pretty militant about that.
Right.
I don't know what happened last Christmas season, but the sugar creeped into my diet, and I woke up one morning and I sat up in bed and I said to my husband, "That's it. I'm starting my sugar detox today."
Right.
And within 3 or 4 hours, I literally was having the sugar detox sweats. So, it's funny when, people say, "Oh my gosh, I just got to get back on the wagon."
Right.
I mean, yes, we all need to get back on the wagon, but it's a lot more challenging than you think, even for somebody like me who's really mindful about food.
Totally.
So I completely empathize with your position with, your new diagnosis with diabetes and being really mindful about food, because we are inundated in our society with crap. You know what I mean? And the problem, with eating crap is that your body is craving nutrients, so you're just eating junk, and you're eating sugar, and you're eating these refined products that are nutrient poor, and so you continue to eat them and continue to eat them because your body's literally starving for nutrients.
Right. I mean, one of the things I did, because I got kind of scared a few years ago, and my weight had really got quite high, and so I went to see a nutritionist, and one of the things that they taught me was about, I did a cleanse first of all, got rid of coffee and alcohol and all of those things to give my body a good kind of clear run into to losing weight, and I was doing things like, hot water with lemon in the morning and cold water with sea salt, and drinking smoothies, not made with milk, but made with ice and vegetables and all of these things. But the other thing that I was doing, I was actually, I wasn't missing out on anything. I was replacing things. Like, one of the things I really want to talk to you about is chocolate, because, I'm a chocoholic like most people. And even as a diabetic, I can eat chocolate. I can eat dark chocolate, obviously, but, within moderation. Can we talk a little bit about chocolate, please? Because people have this ideology that you've got to keep away.
Right. So, yes, I did a whole 1-hour TV show on the benefits of chocolate. We can talk about chocolate as long as you like. So, the rule on chocolate, as you know, is it's got to be greater than 70% cacao, and of course you want organic.
Right.
Because chocolate is very, very processed. So, greater than 70% cacao in your chocolate, and it should be dark chocolate. We'll talk about the sugar and the milk, the dairy products in a second. It's actually cardioprotective, so it's protective to your cardiovascular system. If you are consuming chocolate that is less than 70% cacao, then what you are getting is basically more junk food. And the problem with that is that the cacao and the antioxidant components of chocolate and the magnesium. So the reason that people crave chocolate a lot of the time is because their magnesium levels are low.
Right.
So I live in the northeastern part of the United States, and historically, New Englanders have low levels of magnesium. So it's not uncommon for me to hear from my patients that they're craving chocolate. So if you're craving chocolate, 1 ounce of organic, dark chocolate that's 70% or greater is incredibly beneficial, and it should, kind of quench that magnesium craving. If you're consuming cacao that's less of a percentage in your candy bar, that's basically what you're getting is a candy bar, and you're getting a hit to your blood sugar, and you're getting an inflammatory response. And then what happens is the body starts normalizing that response as being something that then becomes desired.
Right.
Because your body's always in a position to be able to accommodate and evolve.
Right.
So if you're always giving it things that are inflammatory, it's going to get used to that. And that's really what the pathophysiology of diabetes is, right? Is we get used to having high levels of sugar so that your cells actually they develop a fat pad around the cells so that too much sugar can't get inside and damage the organism.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to me.
Totally.
But you're absolutely right. You can eat chocolate, and even in some cases, I have recommended it that people eat it every day. But like you said, it's got to be very, very high quality, and it's got to be in moderation.
Absolutely. I found that obviously since my diabetes diagnosis, that my diet has had to change further, and I've eaten organically as much as possible whenever I can. It's very hard when you go out to kind of eat organically. But I found I'm not missing out on anything. I can even have cake. I've even found cake recipes where you use black beans in the recipe. So you talk in your book a little bit about, and I'm paraphrasing here, about replacement, about replacing items, kind of like still making things, like kind of making pizza with cauliflower as a base. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say that, so I've been gluten-free and for about 15 years, and then now we follow kind of a paleo diet in my house.
Right.
And what happened is, 15 years ago when you were gluten-free, like you had to go to a special store and pay cash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was like buying drugs, You had to buy your special bread and all that. Now, being gluten-free is very, very common.
Yeah.
However, what's happened, as you know, is people have now given up the processed gluten for the processed gluten-free.
Yeah.
Right. So when we talk about swapping out, I try to, instruct my patients to not go from, one kind of junk food to another kind of junk food.
Yeah.
But to use things like you said, use cauliflower as your pizza crust, or instead of instead of using rice, you can do something like rice and cauliflower.
Yeah.
And that way you can really reduce and lower your glycemic index. I mean, I make it's like a cauliflower mac and cheese, and it tastes like, macaroni and cheese, and there isn't any pasta in there to give you a headache afterwards.
Wow.
So there's lots of things that you can do, to swap out ingredients. And, the other thing is, too, is like you said, the desserts. Like sometimes you just want to have a dessert, but you don't want to have like a devil dog or a coffee cake. So I have a recipe in my book that's actually a brownie that doesn't have any grains in it.
Wow.
So you're using the nut flour, using a ton of eggs, you're using organic cacao, and I think the sweetener in that recipe is coconut sugar or maple syrup, and it's a limited amount. So you feel like you're getting this delicious, rich dessert. You don't have to eat a ton of it. It kind of quenches that desire to have a dessert, but you're really not, screwing your blood sugar up too terribly.
Right.
And it's something you can enjoy for several days,
Or several hours if it's me.
Yeah,
If it's, because I find if it's there, it calls to me, and then it's like, Xander, eat me. So if I don't buy it, then I can't eat it. But things I make for myself, I have to have a bit of portion control nowadays.
Right. Well, we all do, and that's what my husband and we joke about that. We're like not a serving size. So sometimes, like I do the same thing you do. I divide it up and put it in like 4 separate areas of the refrigerator.
Yeah.
So like it can't speak to me all at once in the middle.
Yeah. And a lockbox at the back of the refrigerator is usually, and I hide the key, that kind of thing. Now, I want to ask you a little bit about, because we all know that certain products of sweeteners are kind of really bad for you. I'm not going to mention names on the show, but one of the things I've been using for a long time is stevia. And they have different brand names in the United States and the United Kingdom. But what do you think of stevia? How does that rate health-wise, do you think?
So I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of stevia.
Right.
The research that had come out about 15 years ago showed that it actually damaged DNA.
Wow.
So for me, I don't use it. I've had really bad experiences recommending stevia to kids with autism. I have a lot of pediatric patients in my practice, so I will be honest with you, I stay away from it. However, there's been very recent research that's come out in the last 2 or 3 years that has shown that stevia is a very, very effective killer of Lyme disease. And so to use it medicinally, I think is incredibly useful and beneficial.
Right.
But as a sweetener that everybody uses daily, there's some evidence that shows that it creates the same level of insulin resistance. I'm uncomfortable. For me personally, I have a terrible reaction to it. If I consume something with stevia, I get blisters in my mouth.
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't like it for me, period. But I have had some patients who use it fairly regularly and have a good experience. And, I haven't seen any changes in their blood sugar and what have you.
Right.
What I generally recommend for my patients is, especially after there's something called fat adapted, right? They're used to burning fat. So that means that they really kind of completely cut sugar out of their diet altogether. So somebody who's fat adapted will eat something with sugar in it, and it will taste incredibly sweet. So for those people, what my recommendation is to use a real sugar, something that is naturally and normally found in nature. And that is the case with stevia leaf, right? If you go and pick a stevia plant and put one of the leaves in your tea, it's completely different than what we've done here in the United States, which is super duper 100 times, concentrate down,
refined it.
This liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got to put like goggles and, rubber gloves on to use it. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
So, generally, I just say to my patients, use something that occurs naturally in nature. Organic maple syrup or unprocessed raw honey.
Really?
Or coconut
Wow.
nectar or something like that. Yeah.
Even for someone that's diabetic, would that be okay?
For somebody, depends on their level of diabetes and where they're at in their healing.
Okay.
In most cases, it will be fine in small amounts.
Right.
You have to remember that, the diabetics in my, when you're looking at a hemoglobin A1C in my office, like what is acceptable in my office is a completely different number than what is acceptable in the endocrinologist's office.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because I was only diagnosed like 4 months ago, and they got me on metformin. And in that time, I've lost 55 pounds and gone down 30 points on the A1C, AC1A, or whatever it is, which is apparently that's really good. But I've had to work with that. I've had to change my diet even more. I've had to avoid things. There's certain things that, but everyone has a lot of advice to give you about, you shouldn't drink alcohol. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do, I've really just moderated myself, and that I feel has made the difference. I mean, I don't go out there and buy candy or have sugar in my coffee or anything like that. But I think there's a lot of scaremongering around with regards to diabetes.
Oh, you're 100% correct. I mean, here's the perfect example. Right around when you were diagnosed, one of my pediatric patients was diagnosed as a pre-diabetic. So his fasting insulin number was 3 times normal. His hemoglobin A1C was about 4 points above where it should have been. And so his doctor was very quick. He's a 15-year-old kid. His doctor was very quick to put him on pharmaceutical medications.
Right.
My mother was like, no, we're not doing that. So he shows up in my office. I put him on 3 different supplements and a paleo diet. And in 3 months, all of his numbers normalized.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he doesn't have any evidence.
No.
So, and I totally agree with you. You show, like I say to my dad, who had a problem with his knee, shows up at the orthopedic doctor's office, and the orthopedist says, oh, you need a knee replacement. And I'm like, Dad, if you go to a restaurant, they're going to serve you food.
Yeah.
So you have to, you
Totally.
have to understand their point of view.
Totally.
So, and this kid is doing amazing. He's amazing. So it is absolutely possible, as you can see by your own results, to be able to kind of create and follow your own healing trajectory, for sure.
For sure. I mean, I went off the rails at Christmas, but I didn't beat myself up about it. I just got back on and got kind of back on there. But I want to talk to you a little bit about cholesterol, because this was the interesting thing for me. Because when they test you for your A1C or AC1, whatever it is, they tested my cholesterol, and my cholesterol was fine. And you would imagine that if you have problems with diabetes, that your cholesterol would be sky high too. But apparently there's no correlation. Is that true?
That is, well, there's no direct correlation except for, the old medical adage, which is the hip bone's connected to the thigh bone, right?
Right.
And if you really look at you look at diabetes, it really is a cellular inflammation, right? The cells are inflaming their cell membrane
Right.
in order to keep what is their cells perceiving as something dangerous to their organism. And cholesterol, interestingly enough, is kind of like the human body's brick mortar. So high cholesterol really is an indicator of global inflammation in the body, because cholesterol is created to go and patch whatever is a leaky vessel. Okay?
Right.
So, depending on where the inflammation is, and that's the other thing that I struggle with too with diabetes is this really, like a pancreatic insufficiency? Like, what's really your issue with your pancreas? Or is this really a straight insulin resistance, in which case you really just have to remind the cells how to take nutrients in,
Right. Absolutely.
So,
go ahead, sorry.
Oh, you bubbled out, so I couldn't hear your question.
I was just going to say, the interesting thing for me was that that quite often doctors are not seeing, not testing for diabetes soon enough. I had diabetic lesions, and that should have been the first, that should have been indicative that Xander has diabetes. But quite often they're reading that as something else. But diabetic lesions and obesity, I'm not a doctor, but for me the first thing would be, let's test this guy for diabetes.
Well, of course, because then that's a slippery slope. First it's diabetes, then it's a thyroid problem. Then we got cardiovascular disease, and then, it's a whole lifetime of medication and medical treatment.
Exactly.
When, any good doctors will go into your, as you walk into their office, will say, hey, let's make some dietary changes. Let's increase your exercise. Let's do this for 3 months, and
Sure.
if you don't, you're going to have huge problems at the end, instead of giving patients a way out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We are totally out of time, and I could really talk to you all night. So I hope you'll come back and join us again soon. But tell people where they can find your 2 books. I've actually ordered them because I doing my research about you, I was interested even more. But tell people the name of your 2 books and where they can find them, and we'll share the links after so people can check them out.
All right, sure. So certainly on my website, which is drkendrabecker.com, I have 2 books. The first one is called The Delicious Way to Heal the Gut, and the second one is called All You Can Eat. And they're both sold on Amazon and bookstores and everywhere else that, cool kids can sell books. And they're really just both books. The second one, more than the first, is really a nice, concise reference that allows people who are using diet as a huge aspect of their healing to be able to eat real food in real time without having things be abundantly complicated. And that's like you said, we don't use diet, it's a dirty word, but we want things to be simple and easy in lifestyle changes and management, so we all feel like we're still living and we're not living without.
Absolutely. I will share the links for Dr. Kendra Becker's books after the show. But for now, thank you so much for joining us, and please come back again so we can talk some more.
Anytime, Xander. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks a lot, Kendra. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. That was the fabulous Dr. Kendra Becker. Make sure you check her out at drkendrabecker.com. All of her information is on the X-Rad Live Facebook page for today. We gotta go. Stick around. Go grab a cup of tea. Come and join me at therealside.com. I will be the first on for the first hour with Joe Messina, and I have a feeling we might have a visit from Miss Ocasio Neocortex, but we will see. Thank you all for joining us. Far too many to name. Have a wonderful weekend. Do stick around. We'll see you again next week, and I really do love you all. I do. Bye-bye.